What's happening, party people? Welcome to Punchboard Party. My name is Daniel, and in this video we are talking about my top 10 most anticipated games for March and April. Let's do this thing. Coming in at number 10 is Sleeping Gods. This will be a lot higher on other people's lists, but for me, I was not a huge fan of Above and Below, another Ryan Laukat game. I found the story beats to be a little disconnected from the larger context of the game, and that just really bugs me in story-driven games. And then I heard about Near and Far, and I heard that Ryan brought his storytelling genius to that game and made a game that was fully integrated, story-driven, narrative, adventure, and was just seamless in all those elements. And now, hearing about Sleeping Gods, this cooperative game where you are playing different characters on a ship, going on these adventures, running across these ancient monsters. And now I hear that the story is super well woven into the narrative and the mechanics of this game. I really want to get my hands on it and try it out. It kind of reminds me of Forgotten Waters, which was a big surprise for me this past year because I don't usually love cooperative games and I don't usually love story-driven games. But when the story and the mechanics mesh really well together, I have a lot of fun, and so I'm excited to try Sleeping Gods. Number 9 for me is an expansion to a game that I have not played yet. We are talking about Aquatica Cold Waters. What really excites me about this expansion is that in Aquatica, there's these goals that you're trying to accomplish that are listed at the top of the board, and they have to do with how you play these manta tokens that you have throughout the game. And it's fairly simple objectives that you're trying to complete. You know, have 4 manta rays on different locations on the board, different things like that. But with this expansion comes this Tribes module, which adds a different track to the board that has spots for 8 cards, level 1 cards and level 2 cards. So these tribe cards are characters and they all give you endgame scoring, but they also might give you ongoing abilities and objectives to accomplish throughout the game. So they function the same way that the objective tracks function in the base game, but in this way it adds more flavor and there's more color on the board, there's more characters to look at, and there's a variety in the objectives and the endgame scoring and the different abilities that you're seeing throughout the game. So I was already excited to play Aquatica, and now I'm even more excited to play Aquatica. So for March and April, this might not be on anybody's radar, but My Farm Shop from designer Rudiger Dorn is something that I'm very excited about. I just love Rudiger Dorn. He designs these really streamlined, fun, tense, family weight games. And what it has going for it is you're kind of expanding your personal farm in order to gain goods that you will put in your shop and sell for money, which is the objective of the game, to earn the most money. But what you're doing on your turn is you roll 3 dice, and as the star player, you get to choose one of those dice which correspond to a farm expansion, like a special ability that you get to place on your farm that increases the action spaces on your farm, makes them more valuable. And then the other 2 dice add together and they determine what action space on everybody's player board gets activated. And so that could be producing milk or producing linen or yarn or some other ability that they have from an expansion card that they already played onto their farm. So this seems like a real simple engine building action selection game, but something that I could probably get to the table quite often and really enjoy. So I don't really feel qualified to even talk about this next one because I have never played The Legends of Andor. It always comes onto my radar and then just sort of slips off. Once again, cooperative games are not my jam, and games with a shelf life, games you can only play a certain amount of times, just kind of bug me. I want to play my game as many times as I want, thank you very much. But this next game from designer Michael Menzel seems too cool to pass up. We're talking about The Adventures of Robin Hood. And this is a real surface level pick, because I'm looking at this cover and I just love the art style, and then I'm looking into the context of the box and these boards, this kind of advent calendar style of board. There's different places on the board that you can go, and you can go wherever you want. It's kind of like an open world board game, and when you go to a certain spot you can flip over a tile or pop a piece off the board and reveal something, whether it be items or story beats or whatever the case may be. It's just this cool concept for a board game, and the art on these boards is just stunning. It's a classic style that I really enjoy, really gives that classic Euro feel. But then there's some really neat mechanisms in play. It looks like how you move is determined by the kinds and lengths of pieces that you place down on the board. And so I'm really interested to see what that is all about. And also this game comes with a really cool, thick, kind of leather-bound storybook that has all of these storylines or quests in them. So again, it's kind of hitting that Sleeping Gods vibes for me, or the Forgotten Waters vibes that I really enjoyed. So really, I'm just excited to see what it's all about and if it lives up to the hype. My number 6 is one that really surprised me. We're talking about Bloodborne, the board game. I am not into the video game Bloodborne. It's a little too dark, a little too brutal for me. But this board game, when I was looking into it, it really surprised me. The colors on the tiles are a lot more vibrant than I was anticipating, and the art and style is a lot less gruesome than I was expecting. And so already I'm feeling a bit more invited into this game than I was initially. What really drew me to this game was that it's not your typical dungeon crawl where you're chucking dice, but all the combat is determined by how you play cards onto your player board. And so there's two factors. There's the speed of the card that you play, and that's determined by arrows that are indicated on your board, and there's the amount of damage that the move is going to do. And so typically the faster the move, the weaker the damage, or the slower the move, the more powerful the damage. And each enemy you go up against has a deck of cards that you are drawing on behalf of them, and those cards indicate how fast their move is and how much the damage is going to be. While this is not a game that I'm typically drawn to, it is from the co-designer Eric Lang, who also brought us Arcadia Quest. And I love Arcadia Quest, and this is giving me a little bit of that Arcadia Quest feel, and so I am excited for this one. My number 5 is Red Rising. No surprise here, if you are a fan of the channel, you know that I am covering a lot about Red Rising, mainly because I am so excited about this game. This game fits right into my wheelhouse of a family to mid-weight engine builder, where it's all about crafting the perfect hand of cards by the end of the game that combo amongst themselves to net the most victory points. And throughout the game, you are just in agony about what card you're going to play to the board and what card you are going to draw back up into your hand, because every move you make, you're going to lose an opportunity as well as gain a new opportunity. And so you're always going to hope that your sacrifices aren't going to come and bite you in the butt. So Red Rising, it's coming in April sometime. I've already pre-ordered it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to play it. I'm going to show you guys all about it, what I do, and I'm very excited for that. Now this one, I know next to nothing about. Coming in at number 4 is Florence, but it comes from David Turczi, who is becoming a master of the mid to heavyweight Euro game. And this game, Florence, looks really fantastic. This is an area control game with a really unique theme. So you are playing nobles that are trying to impress different Medicis, and you're at parties and you're bragging about the different things that you've done, and you're trying to nudge your way through the crowds to get to the front of the line to meet these Medicis and gain their favor. But the trick about the game is that, I don't know how this works, but throughout the course of the game, the different area control spaces are going to change as the Medicis move around the board. You can see that there's these carriages that are on the board, and maybe that's how the Medicis run around to the different spots. So while you might have the most influence with one Medici in one round, later on in the game that all changes because the Medici has moved. Another factor that's going to be really cool is that the different things that impress these Medicis are going to change as the game goes on, and the longer the game goes, the Medicis are going to be harder to impress. So I'm really more excited about finding out the details about how the mechanisms match with this theme and the different things that you're trying to do, but I think this is going to be a banger, so I'm looking forward to Florence. My number 3 has been a grail game for a lot of people for a long time. I'm talking about Ginkgopolis, and it is coming back. So Ginkgopolis has been a game that I have been after myself for a long time. When I first saw reviews or videos or read articles about it, right from the beginning, when I first heard about this game, I was enticed by this grid of tiles out on the board, and you're playing a combination of card and tile together in order to get certain bonuses like resources or victory points or the ability to play new tiles. And I actually got the chance to play this game. My buddy John has a copy copy, and he brought it over once and we played it. And the thing was, is it didn't really land with me like I thought it was gonna land. I thought I was gonna love this game, but it turned out that it was a little more puzzly for what I was into at the time. So I kind of got lost, and John was better at it than I was, and so he beat me, and that left me a little sore. So for me, Ginkgopolis is a game that I really want to like, and I really hope that that playthrough was just a fluke, because now when I'm looking back into it again, I'm just as excited as I was the first time to get my hands on this and play it. So I'm just hoping that I can get my head in the game so that it is an enjoyable experience for me, because I think this game has a lot of potential and I'm really excited to give it a second chance. Number 2 was not even on my radar until a few minutes ago when I was going back over the list seeing if I missed anything, and I did miss something. This game is called Four Gardens, and this has a huge gimmick feature that is going to draw people around the table when they see you playing it. There's this large pagoda in the center of the table, and it has these rotating pieces. And so what you're doing throughout the game is you're collecting resources based on the symbols that are on the different levels of this pagoda. And you get to rotate it around based on different cards that you play and actions that you're doing throughout the game. But in a given round, you only have space enough for 4 resources. And so you can either collect resources from this pagoda from the bottom up or the top down. And so you're going to collect resources until you can't collect resources anymore based on the direction that you're collecting from. And so the way that you rotate the pagoda during your turn is really going to determine if you're going to get resources that you're really needing, or if you're just going to get stuck with resources that you don't want. And so what you're doing in this game is you're collecting resources to build these cards, which are these kind of panorama paintings, which look beautiful, by the way. And building these paintings allows you to move up these tracks, which get you victory points at the end of the game. So what really stands out to me is that this is a family weight style game with a really unique resource gathering mechanism that I am really interested to sink my teeth into. So that's Four Gardens, and I can't wait to check it out. And my number 1 anticipated game for March and April is Cryo from Tom Jolly and Luke Laurie. This game looks off the chain bonkers. This has everything that I love in a board game. It has engine building and it has worker placement in spades. And the theme of this game could not be cooler. You were on a spaceship and something went terribly wrong and you crash landed onto a freezing planet. And so the different spaces on the worker placement board are these different areas of the scattered remains of your ship. And your team is trying to survive out and above all the other teams that were on the ship because they caused the problem in the first place. And so you have these drones that you are sending out to different areas on the boards to do different actions. And while that's just cool as is, you also have these territories that are underground because your goal is to get your workers from the board down into these caverns and caves underneath, because at a certain amount of time the sun is going to set and this planet's terrain is going to become freezing, killing all of your workers that are left on the board. And the other neat thing about this game is that the multi-use cards that you're going to be playing throughout the game are more multi-use than I've ever seen. You can play them in 3 different ways, and they do all sorts of things like ongoing actions, or they become vehicles that you can use to transport your workers, I assume, or they can become missions or objectives that you're trying to fulfill throughout the game that are like endgame victory points style things. So at the end of the day, this game just looks really cool, a medium weight Euro game that will bring a lot of meaty, crunchy decisions to the table with a fun theme. So I'm really looking forward to Cryo, and that box cover art doesn't hurt at all. Okay, party people, there we have it. Those are my top 10 most anticipated games for March and April. I can't wait to get my hands on some of these games really soon and talk more about them with you. Hey, tell me what your most anticipated games for the next couple months are down below. I would love to talk about those games and any other games you're excited about that might be coming to us further down the road in 2021. So on this channel, I do board game reviews, top 10 lists. I talk about all sorts of other fun things to do with the hobby. And I just love having the opportunity to get to know you guys better. So please engage in the comments below. And until next time, have the best day.